Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Business Beyond the Beach in partnership with our friends here at Miami Community Newspapers. My name is Brittnie Bassant, President and CEO of Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce, and today I'm here with Claudia from Freebee. Hi, Claudia. Thank you so much for joining.
Hi, Brittnie. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to talk all things Freebee with you. So let's start from the very beginning. Walk me through the origin story of Freebee. Why was it founded? How did it come to be? What gaps in transportation was it looking to fill? Tell me about Freebee.
Very interesting. The way Freebee actually started is, our two founders, Jason Spiegel and Chris Kimball, they had just graduated University of Miami and were unable to find jobs due to the recession. They graduated right smack in the middle of the recession. And they had business degrees and marketing degrees, and they came up with this wonderful concept that was Freebee. Now, when Freebee started, it was originally marketing-based. So you had the GEM golf cart vehicles, and the drivers went around all the cool places, South Beach, Wynwood, Brickell, all those places. And the drivers basically worked off tips, and then it was a marketing model, right? So we had advertisers that would wrap the vehicles, and so that's how, it was a fruitful business. Then, fast forward a little bit, and what happened? You had rideshare that broke into the market basically overnight. And, Jason and Chris said, hey, why don't we develop an app? They developed an app. And before you know it, Village of Key Biscayne came calling and said, hey, can you guys help us with our transportation? And so that was what opened the door. And soon after Key Biscayne, Coral Gables followed. And then this model was born, not just here in South Florida, but at the same time, micromobility was born in the United States. So we're going on 15 years in January. And it's been a great experience. Right now, we are the largest provider of microtransit in the state of Florida, over 50 cities from Seminole County in Central Florida all the way to the Florida Keys.
That's absolutely amazing. And I want to talk about the areas that you service, but let's talk about just really the mission behind Freebee.
So our mission is very simple. It's connecting communities. And in so many different ways that we connect communities, we act as a first mile, last mile to help get folks to mass transit. Maybe you have a lot of people who will use mass transit, but they can't walk 2 or 3 blocks to get to a bus stop, a trolley stop, a circular stop. But then, Freebee comes in and gets them that first mile, gets them that last mile home. There's also different ways to connect. For instance, seniors. We have services that are senior only. These are folks that need to get around. They don't want to depend on their adult children to get them to, let's say, a grocery store, and they have to wait till Saturday to do it. They can now use the Freebee. They can go to doctor's appointments. They can go to the grocery store. They can have lunch with friends. This has really just opened up ways for them. And then, when you talk about, well, who's the demographic riding Freebee, right? What we found is that everybody rides Freebee. You just see that demographic changes as the day goes on. So you'll have people taking it to work in the morning. Maybe it's C-suite executives going to lunch, business meetings. They've got a good spot at, a parking spot that morning. They don't want to move their car. They use the Freebee. Students take Freebee after school, home from school. My own son rode Freebee, from I think 6th grade all the way to senior year. So that's one of the ways that you could use the Freebee.
And that's really interesting. When you said students and you're talking about your own children, is there, because a lot of the times with, age restrictions, et cetera. So let's talk about that a little bit with Freebee, age restrictions and safety features.
Sure. And I can speak to that as a mom as well, because I'm one of those helicopter moms that as far as safety is a big deal. Now, I think that one of the best things about Freebee is the safety feature. In fact, did you know 70% of our ridership are women? Because they feel so safe riding a Freebee.
Safer in a Freebee.
Right. Well, because, with Freebee, when you talk about safety, our drivers are background checked. They go through health screenings, random drug testing, and we do sleep apnea studies. So when you get into a Freebee, you know that you are getting into a safe ride. That driver is 100% safe. But my favorite part as a mom is that there's cameras inside the car. There's cameras facing forward, facing backwards. So you have this whole 360 view of everything that's going on. And so it's and it's always the same driver. So you get to know them. They get to know you. You're building community. And so I really like that part about it.
What's the youngest? And I think a lot of people probably don't realize this is an option for, children, et cetera. What's the youngest age someone can call a Freebee?
So the beauty of it is that this is a highly customizable program. So every city decides what age. Some cities will start at 13. Some will start at 18. It just depends on which city you're in. We live in the city of Coral Gables, and Coral Gables at 13, you can ride the Freebee. And
what
so
about
that's
Miami
been
Beach?
Miami Beach can also ride. Yeah.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about the cities that you serve, and let's just talk about where Freebie is in
Sure.
general, like across the state, across the country, where you guys are servicing, and then let's like really break it down to Miami. But how many cities are you in? Not sure if you know those numbers.
Yes, of course.
Okay,
Of course.
perfect.
Yeah, we're in 53 cities in the state of Florida, and then we're also in 3 going on our 4th city in North Carolina. And so right now we have a service in Virginia that's on pause right now, but we've got
You're expanding.
hopes to continue to expand, and hopefully by the end of the year we should be in a couple more states. So that's exciting.
That's very exciting. What other states are you guys looking at? Is it just is there a focus on like the East Coast maybe, or?
Well, to be honest with you, what we would like is to grow organically. Right now, we're in almost every city in Miami-Dade County. We're in a few cities in Broward, and then organically grow that way, throughout the South. But if an opportunity presents itself, and one of the wonderful things about Miami Beach, as a matter of fact, is that so many people come to Miami Beach here. It's a tourism capital, right?
It's a global world-class city.
And then they ride the Freebie, and then they happen to be.
I have this everywhere I go.
They happen to be a transportation executive or a city manager or a county manager, and then they call and they're like, "Hey, can you do this in my city or my state?" So we're open to those opportunities, and it happens all the time.
Organic growth. About that's like the most kind of organic growth. So let's talk about Miami Beach. Well, I want to talk about the communities that you serve, and like you said, every city is different. And so how does that community and how does that city shape the services that are provided by Freebie? What are the different services that are provided from all, it's just so many. It's so many, even down to like the vehicles that are provided. So let's chat about that.
So as I was telling you, this is something that is highly customizable. And so every city is different. They have different goals. They have different challenges. And so the solution naturally is going to be different. So each city decides, what area they want to serve. Some cities will say it's the entire city boundary as a geofence, or some cities will say, well, we're just going to do our commercial district, or we're just going to do from this street to that street. And so in Miami Beach, we have, Mid Beach that is in service, or North Beach that's in service. We have a senior only service down in South Beach, and everybody thinks our South Beach service is going to clubs or whatnot. No, we're serving 17 senior housing buildings, and that senior community all day. Our bread and butter there is taking them to the grocery store, to the drugstore, to the hospital, the doctor's appointments. That's what they do. And actually, some of the folks don't know that one of the services that Freebie provides is that we actually help the seniors to the front door of their house or their building with their groceries. So if they need help, whereas with other services like paratransit, they're not allowed to help them in the car. They're not, our drivers are trained to help them in and out of wheelchairs, to help them in and out of the car. They're allowed to do that function. But again, to your question, the service that we fulfill is critical to economic development. We're very big players in that field. We are the only microtransit company that has an economic development component. And what do I mean by that? Well, our app is amazing. Our technology is amazing. So we have a destinations feature on our app where, it serves kind of like a local service guide. So if let's say you want to go grab lunch after this and we don't know, where should we go? Go on the Freebie app, hit destinations, hit restaurants and bars, and you're going to get a digital drop down of every restaurant and bar within the service area. And that is free advertising that we're offering.
Free advertising and marketing to the businesses. And so you're helping with the economic growth and development of the region.
Absolutely. Just delivering those customers and helping in those areas where, there's a lot of traffic, there's maybe limited parking. So Freebie comes in to save the day and say, you don't have to worry about parking. You can still go to your favorite, haunts and not have to worry about transportation.
Absolutely. And I think that's so important because you're bringing the customers to the door of the businesses.
That's correct.
That's one of the biggest challenges sometimes is sort of that. Again, we're talking about transportation, we're talking about micromobility, of course, but absolutely it's a gap there. I want to talk a little bit about your fleet though. Mm-hmm. Because your vehicles are pretty cool. Yeah. And so for those that don't know, it's an all-electric fleet, which I think is incredible for a resiliency and sustainability standpoint. But tell me about your fleet.
Yeah. So our fleet is diversified over the years. When we first started out, we had the golf cart type vehicles. They're called GEM vehicles, low-speed vehicles. We added doors and windows to them and all that, and that's great. But then we moved up and we started with the Teslas. The Teslas was what we call climate control vehicle, AC, very needed on the beach. Absolutely. For those hot days.
In Florida and definitely in Miami, AC is a necessity at some points in the year.
It is. And it also it's a vehicle that can last longer without needing to be charged as often. So that was the vehicle for a while. And then last year, we rolled out a new vehicle, which is the Volkswagen ID Buzz van. And it's super cool. Like someone said to me earlier, it's the Scooby-Doo vehicle. It's the remake of the 1960s Love Bus. So
That's
it's
so
great.
Cool.
These are wonderful vehicles because, it's funny because when we transitioned from the GEM vehicles, the golf cart type vehicles, into the Teslas, everybody's like, oh, we love the Teslas, but oh my gosh, those GEM vehicles were so cute. They stood out. So
they were an experience.
They were, but now with the ID Buzz, it's the best of both worlds because you have a vehicle that is climate controlled, has a superior technology, seats 6 people plus a driver, and then on top of all that, it has that cool look. I tell you, there's no time that I'm driving that vehicle that folks are not taking out their phone, they're videotaping us, they're taking photos. It's just a very cool vehicle and very comfortable. And again, it's a car that's electric and it can go, a lot of miles without needing to be charged every so often.
Where can someone find it? They're like, I want to take a ride in the Freebee bus. Where do they need to go?
Well, right now, you can do it in downtown Miami. You could do it in Coconut Grove. You could do it in Brickell. Miami Gardens also has them. And look out for them because
we gotta get them on the beach.
I know that there is definitely a desire to have them on the beach. I keep hearing that. So, stay tuned.
That'll be a ton of fun. That'll be great to see them out there. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about a little bit behind the scenes. Can you give me any sort of insight, like operational insight of what it takes to run an organization, a company like Freebee behind the scenes?
Oh, it's a lot of work. I'll tell you that much. Folks don't realize I think one of the benefits that we bring, right? We partner with a lot of cities and counties. And one of the benefits that we bring is that we're turnkey. So behind the scenes, the clients don't have to worry about dealing with maintenance, mechanics, any HR issues, hiring, all that is done by us. So what folks may not know is that every single area has what we call a performance manager. That is a person that is in a car on the scene, going around, making sure that everything is running smoothly, whether it's a driver that needs assistance or a vehicle that needs help. We have somebody on the ground. So I think that's wonderful to have a behind the scenes kind of information that that it's not just your driver. There's definitely someone out there as a resource, not just for the driver, but it trickles down to the rider as well.
Oh my God, that's absolutely incredible. And it's so important, right? Because you're bringing these transit solutions to cities, like you said, turnkey. Here is an opportunity for you to fill a gap with micromobility. So when you and your team look to the future, what excites you the most about micromobility, about the ever-evolving transportation world and like just urban transportation? What gets you excited?
I'm excited because I think that we are here in Florida, we're innovators. We're embracing innovation. We're not just talking about it. We are walking the talk. And so you look around and you can see that we're very forward thinking. In South Florida, we have the Freebees doing micromobility, connecting folks to mass transit, but you also see now autonomous vehicles with Waymo out there, the water taxi.
I was just about to say our water taxi, and that's a beautiful synergistic partnership because Freebee is aligned now to our water taxi in Miami Beach. And that's incredible because we're solving so many transportation gaps with that. We're truly making it accessible.
And looking forward, I think that we're going to have...
And both options are free.
Yeah. I think that looking forward, we're going to have a very robust transportation ecosystem. I was mentioning the autonomous vehicles. You have Zooks coming down the line. You have urban air mobility, coming as well. There's going to be, I always say we're going to be living in the Jetsons time. We're going to get to see that.
The future is here.
It's here. It's very exciting to see that we're embracing that and that we're moving forward. And that sets a lot. And, and even in Florida, the fact that just Freebee alone is in over 50 cities in Florida, we've embraced it nationwide. We're one of the leaders in getting forward-thinking microtransit solutions.
Absolutely. So we can't talk about Freebee and not talk about the power of partnerships and the power of collaborations across the board. The basis of what you do is partnering with cities and local municipalities, but also with community organizations. And of course, the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce being one of those. And we guys have been strong, long-standing members of the Miami Beach Chamber of Commerce. We're so grateful for your support of our organization. But talk to me about why it's important to have those collaborations and those partnerships and be involved in the community.
Ridership, ridership, ridership. So the most important thing is to have ridership, because you can have a program, as you know, certain cities have seen, that they'll put in a bus or a trolley and then no one rides it, right? Well, when Freebie comes to town, we make sure that we partner with the chambers, that we collaborate. Now, we're partnering with cities, we're partnering with counties, we're partnering with universities, but the chamber becomes a very vital point because we're reaching out to you ahead of time and letting you know, hey, Freebie's coming to town. Let me know all the list of your businesses. We're going to email you. We're going to go visit door to door all the storefront businesses to let them know not only that we're coming to town, but this is how it's going to benefit your business. You're not going to have to worry about folks driving somewhere else because they couldn't find a parking spot. And so by doing that, we're being good community partners, but those businesses are now, at the chamber, at the storefront, are going to turn around and they're going to cross promote us. And we're going to drop off little QR clings for them to put on their storefront. We're going to drop off little tents at the concierges, at the different hotels, at the hostess stands, at the restaurants, and everybody's going to get the word out. Hey, just download the app. And so that's going to lead to word of mouth. It's going to lead to more ridership. And for a transportation program to be successful, you have to have the ridership there. And at the end of the day, our city partners can turn around and say, yes, we're spending X amount of money on microtransit, but we're being good stewards of the public dollar because our ridership is so high. Our cost per rider is now very low because everybody's riding it, everybody's using it. And so that's the importance of having partners like you at the chamber, getting the word out for us and using the service and, and spreading the word.
And the other part too, that we talked about briefly at the beginning, it flips at some point because yes, the businesses in the city are of course promoting Freebie and we're encouraging ridership. Absolutely. But then Freebie on the other side is providing incredible marketing and advertising opportunities to the business and helping drive customers to the business. So It is a very synergistic relationship. And it's so important to have that. It goes both ways. It's a two-way street. And we're leveraging all of the resources to make sure that we collectively move that needle forward.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So we're just a couple more minutes left. We're at the end of our little segment here. But my closing question to all of my guests is always, if you can go back in time and talk to your younger self, whether it was at the start of your career a couple of years ago, just kind of travel back in time and have a conversation with your younger self, what would you say? What advice would you give?
I would advise myself to continue to invest in myself and not to be shy about it. I think that I spent the first half of my career maybe, helping somebody else with their dream or just being the person in the background. And then, as time went on, I said, wait a minute, let me go ahead and turn that inward. And it made me a better person. It made me a better parent. It made me a better community figure. And it made me a better resource for Freebie because now I have so much more to offer, so much more to give, and super excited about being a part of this company that is bringing technology to the forefront through transportation and with community partnerships.
That's absolutely incredible. And you're right. When you invest in yourself, then you become a better version of yourself. And then, of course, be better in the community and creating a bigger impact. So thank you. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you guys for joining us today on another episode of Business Beyond the Beach in partnership with our friends here at Miami Community Newspapers. We appreciate you tuning in and stay tuned next week for another episode.
Thank you.